Hello and welcome to our Fireside Chat series, Voices of Change, brought to you by Great Learning. I'm Sapna Kapoor, head of DE&I Initiatives. This series aims to spotlight the incredible work being done by DE&I leaders who are shaping more inclusive and equitable workplaces. Throughout the series, we hope to inspire, inform, and engage our audience by exploring the tangible strategies and transformative ideas that fuel DEI work. Well, it's an absolute pleasure to have Annupreeti, Talent Development Professional at Samsung, join us today. Annupreeti, your journey and commitment to advancing DEI have inspired many, and I'm looking forward to diving into your experiences and insights. But before we get started, would you briefly introduce yourself to our audience?
Hi, Sapna. Thank you for inviting me for such an insightful conversation. I'm really glad to be invited to be part of this discussion and have an interaction with you, yourself being a very exceptional leader in this domain. To tell something about myself, I am leading the talent development and D&I vertical at Samsung Research. I have close to 7 year experience working in different industries, including telecom, retail, and leading the interventions from scratch and seeing the fruits of it and how does it benefit the organization to begin with. And this DNI journey has helped me evolve as a better professional, and I look forward to sharing my experiences with you and hopefully gaining a lot from you as well. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Let's dive right in our first question. You've had an impressive journey in DE&I. What inspired you to take on this role, and how has this perspective evolved over the years as you've engaged with this work?
I think that's a lovely question to begin with. And when we talk about DNI, I think the journey of women at workforce is something that we primarily talk about, and I do relate it with a lot of extent. So, if I talk about my personal history, I belong from a small town. My dad works for Central PSU. My mom is a homemaker, but there has always been a push for the kids to excel in every domain. I do relate with a lot of challenges that women face in the professional journey with the kind of socio-cultural context that they belong with. And I remember having one conversation with my father when I was selecting which MBA college I need to go to. I had an option of going to NMIS Mumbai for MBA HR. I also had an option to opting for a sales and marketing domain in one of the new IIMs. And I remember one conversation which my father said that you should offer HR, and the reason that is stated was it's a comfortable life, to be honest, than a sales and marketing thing. And I know my father and mother have been very, this driving force for my career to begin with, but that was something that kept me thinking that people do have a certain perception about how women at workforce should confined to a certain gender form of roles and to begin with. So that is the start of when I started questioning a lot of things, and I did go ahead with my journey of MBHR, not because it was comfortable, but that was my interest area to begin with. And as I proceeded in this journey, I think Raymond Limited was my first organization where I worked, and there was a couple of leaders who were also DNI champions in the organization who inspired me a lot. So if I could name, there was one senior lady, Harpreet Ghumman. She is a global thought leader in a DNI space, and she was organizing an intervention called Shakti, wherein she had created a very wonderful community of emerging women leaders, and she used to host very interesting workshops for all of them. And I remember in one of the sessions, and I was a very fresher management trainee in the organization, I attended the session, and there was one lady IPS officer who was invited for the workshop. And the moment I saw her enter the entire room and the conference room in her uniform, that was so inspiring to me. So I think my DNI journey started as an audience and perceiving what are changes happening in the organization, who are the champions, how do we need to see this entire space evolve. And slowly I became part of this portfolio. I started working in this domain. And the reason I feel it has evolved a lot is because of those DNI champions and allies who are there in the organization. And this is not a HR agenda to drive in the workspace. It is not a core team agenda to drive. It is the business outcome that we look at, and if we have the support of the leaders, we can do wonders in within the space. And that's what I have witnessed so far in the organizations that I worked for. And I would say we have, just touched the tip of the iceberg. There's so much that we can do in this space, and so much impact that we create from inclusion perspective, belongingness, and creating equity at workplace, that I feel the journey is still evolving and there's a lot more to achieve from here on.
Well, it's quite inspiring to hear your journey, and I'm sure your story will continue to motivate others in this important work. Now, given the shifting dynamics of today's workplace, how do you interpret DE&I in the current organizational landscape?
So yes, again, like I said before, the DNI landscape, at least in Indian context, is still evolving a lot. There are a lot of data and research that proves that having a concrete DNI structure, a core committee, impacts diversity, equity, and inclusion. I was just reading some research recently where it stated that in one of the McKinsey reports that if an organization is very inclusive, there is almost 6x increase in the innovation agility of the organization. And that's just one of the very basic parameters that I'm talking about. There's several other research and studies that prove how the top line and bottom line of the organizations gets effective by having a concrete DNI agenda, and also very religiously following it at every level. So from my experience that I worked in a different organization, I feel that we are yet evolving. And at least the context that I have had worked in is that the representation of women as one of the diverse group is still fairly less compared to the other demographics in the organization. And the reason being that we have very less representation of women in the STEM domain. So if I talk about my current organization, we are close to 16-17% of women representation, which is something that we are really working towards in, making it at least 25 to 30% in the next 3 years. And since it's a pure R&D firm, we try to get the best talent across India from the different domains that we have, but we are getting a lot of challenge in at least getting a pool of talented women folks to speak with. And that's just one of the minority or the diverse groups I'm talking about. I think in the current context, we are also focusing on other aspects of diversity. And if I talk from a current organization perspective, we follow something called the 2+1 approach to diversity. The 2+1, what it means is the two diverse groups that we focus around is common across Samsung entities in the global context, so which is women representation and people with disabilities. Plus one is one of the cultural or the local context of diversity that we can focus around. And for my current organization, we focus on generational, because we have a lot of best minds and bright talent that come from IITs and NITs. And we are at a certain stage of the demographic at workplace that we have almost 60% of the organization who are Gen Zs, and majority are then going into the millennial phase. So having a generational understanding, creating a better generational assimilation is something then again we are striving for. So with respect to the current context, our focus is around these three diverse groups. But if I talk about some best practices which our current organization does across globe, so which is some really amazing work, to be honest, which even inspires me. So there's a lot of work which is going around neurodivergent diversity groups and how to enable them into the workforce and how to create sensitization around it. We also have a lot of employee resource group around autism in some of the communities that are part of. To be honest, pride community is something that we are still, trying to create an awareness around and trying to bring in the workforce. But that is something is our close near future agenda, to be honest, and include those demographic as well. But after the diversity part, I think the next challenge that we are also facing is inclusion. And if we look at the DEI maturity model to begin with, given by Deloitte, we are, I think, slowly transitioning from the level 2 to level 3, which is program oriented to leader led DNI maturity model. And in the next 5 years, we hopefully want to reach a stage where we are more integrated And DNI is not just an HR agenda or someone else's agenda. It's driven by everyone in the organization. And that's a major target that we all have taken upon ourselves, and every individual is responsible for it. And we have created smaller interventions around it. I would like to say, just to summarize it, that yes, we have taken some bold steps to achieve our target of being more integrated DNI organization to begin with. But yes, there's a long way to go.
Wow, it's fascinating to hear how you basically navigate DEI in today's ever evolving workplace. Uh, I believe your insights have highlighted the importance of adapting strategies to address both emerging challenges and opportunities, at the same time ensuring organizations remain inclusive and equitable for everyone. Well, let's talk about learning and development. What innovative learning and development strategies are you implementing to foster inclusivity within your organization?
I think our learning and development strategies from the very start have been very inclusive and very equity driven. And all the interventions that we launch with respect to enabling different capabilities is open to all, basis a certain criteria or merit that a person has. So the foundation is very inclusive, is what first thing I want to say. But additionally, if I talk about what we do to drive DNI capabilities in the organization, so the one of the very basic things which every organization start with is sensitization and awareness. We collaborate very strongly with our global DNI council team, our team which sits in Korea, and we devise the latest content around creating a much diverse understanding about DNI. We have a very top down approach in cascading this awareness sessions, and we let the leaders talk about it. So that's one of the very basic things that we're doing. If we go a step further, we are trying to incorporate DNI related modules and our existing flagship programs, to be very honest. So, for example, we already have a program which caters to leadership communication to a certain seniority level of employees in the organization. And we have recently included inclusive communication as a very, very important module to begin with. And we felt there's a very strong need for employees, especially senior employees, to understand how to be inclusive in the workforce. Because, like I mentioned, we have a lot of generational differences with respect to age and different communities that are coming in. And a manager or a leader needs to know how to address a very diverse and inclusive workforce. So that's another thing that we're trying to develop from L&D perspective. And one of the flagship programs under L&D, which I feel I'm very proud of, and it's also one of the programs that I've been associated with for the last 3 years here in my current organization, is Empower Her, which is Women Leadership Development Program. And one might ask, like, why is there a special leadership development program only for women? And what was the need for it? But to be honest, in the current context that we didn't have a very high representation of women leaders to begin with. And in order to attract better talent from the women workforce, we needed more role models within the organization. And we did a study where we understood about career intentionality of this women who are in the workforce. And there's a lot of career interrupters which are very specific to women, be it maternity, be it marriage, be it elderly care or something else. So the program is designed in a way which caters to the specific needs, specific challenges, specific concerns of the leadership journey of women in the organization. And it's doing wonders. We work with one of the industry experts for this program. We have close to 50 to 60 graduates in this program, and they are the perfect role models. They represent us in different forums. They inspire the younger generation. And I would say it's one of our success stories under the learning and development intervention for DNI.
Wow, that's incredible work, Anpreeti. I think your efforts are not only impactful, but also set a powerful example for driving meaningful change. Uh, I'm sure you agree that tailored learning is a great way to ensure equality. As we see rapid advancement in technology, how do you think artificial intelligence, the buzzword, can enhance DE&I efforts, particularly in promoting equitable learning experiences?
I feel we are advancing at a very fast pace. The technology shelf life is decreasing by years, by months. And since my organization works with the newest technology, I understand the importance of it, to be very honest. And if we talk about AI in the DNI space, I think that opens a lot of doors, and there's so much that we can achieve from it. So if I just put, the way I imagine it, I feel one of the very first thing that will happen is personalized learning. And to give you one example, under the women leadership development program that we do, we also do something called a nudge call, which is like a customized coaching call with each participant to understand their unique journey. But within given the bandwidth and the given the journey that we currently have, it's very difficult to customize the leadership journey for each of the participants, to be very honest. But if we have AI into the picture, I feel the resources and the tools that we have will cater to the unique challenges that each of the participants face. For example, I remember the conversations that I used to have with each of the participants, and one of them was a new manager. She was earlier an individual contributor, and she was struggling to manage a team of five Gen Zs that were part of her team. And the team management, conflict management, getting them to understand the urgency of work was a major challenge that she was facing. And there was another participant who recently returned from maternity, and for her, the challenges were more to create her base again in the team and build her credibility again to capture the best projects which are there and have a more trustworthy relationship with the senior stakeholders. Since these were unique challenges within the umbrella of WLDP, there was just a customized or a generic learning that we could provide to some extent. But I feel when AI is in place, there could be customized learning to begin with, and that can help a lot to the learners in getting the best out of any learning program. Another, I feel, could be identifying and addressing biases. I understand humans can't be devoid of any biases, which is true. But as HR champions or DNI champions in the organization, what we can do individually is reducing the level of unconscious bias present in the organization. And I think with AI coming into the picture, there could be instances where we can do some voice text analysis in a Zoom call and understand if a certain cohort of folks were interrupted during a meeting or were not let to present their points freely. So these are very small examples where we can go a little deeper, do some sentiment analysis, and come up with latest trends where this the prevalence of biases is very, very strong in the organization. We can try to find this the root cause of the data that we have. And I think if we capture the right data, AI can present some amazing trends and theories and some predictive analysis to help us create a better present, which will create a very beautiful future for us to begin with. Again, I think if I keep on thinking, there's numerous things that AI can do. Another thing that comes to my mind is how we can scale mentorship and support to begin with to the DNI influenced workforce in the organization. And this is one of the things that I have experienced in one-on-one interaction with different people, that they seek mentorship, they seek a buddy support, which is sometimes lagging in the organization. So not just women employees in the organization, be it anyone in the different diverse groups that they lie in, be it a generational person, someone who's a very fresh who comes from IIT would look for mentorship in a similar cohort in the organization, or someone who comes with people with disabilities might relate better with a similar diverse group and would like to have a mentorship journey going on to help them evolve in the organization. So currently it becomes a really difficult with all the other things going on in the organization to create a very interesting mentorship journey. But with AI coming into the picture, I think something around virtual tutor can be there in place. There could be more interesting chatbots which can there and help these people bring their best selves to the organization. And I think that is one of the very interesting elements I'm curious about if it happens in the future, and how it enables these diverse groups to fully thrive in the organization.
Wow, it's so inspiring to see the impactful work you are leading in this space, Anupriti. Your insights have been truly invaluable. Thank you so much for joining us. But before we wrap up, is there a message you'd like to leave our audience with about the importance of DE&I?
Sure, I think in order to create a better tomorrow, I think we have to work together. And I think that's the motto that I believe in. And DNI has to be an ownership of everyone in the organization. And if everyone owns one bit of it, I think we can create tremendous impact. So let all come together to build a better future by working together in the present.
Beautifully said. I believe we have gained valuable insights on the significant strides being made across various organizations. Thank you so much once again for being a part of Voices of Change. It was wonderful speaking with you. This has been Voice of Change, brought to you by Great Learning. Until next time, stay committed to creating a world where everyone has a voice.